us to account for the way we legislate and administer the affairs of our township and its fine people. We pray for your guidance as we do so. We pray that you will find us protecting the rights of all at all times, that our community and this nation will fulfill all of your purposes. Amen.
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 Clerk Christie, please take the roll.
Ms. Kavanaugh is absent. Mr. Christie here. Ms. Jackson.
Here.
Ms. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Ms. Taylor.
Here.
Mr. McCray.
Here, quorum is present. Next is the approval agenda.
To the chair,
Trustee Taylor.
I request that we remove item 11 under new business.
Okay. Any objections to removal of item 11 under new business? Hearing none, then do we need to take a vote on it, Clerk Christie, or just?
I think you're asking for unanimous consent, so.
Yes. No, okay, we're good. So number 11 is removed. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion with the amended agenda.
To the chair,
Trustee Taylor.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Support by Trustee Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a few citizen comments. So if you're doing a citizen comment, when I call your name, go up to the mic. Please give your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes of your time to talk to us. This is a listening exercise by the board. You get to say your piece uninterrupted. So Lillian Cunningham.
That's me.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am.
I'm Lillian Cunningham. I'm a resident of Redford. You need my complete address?
Please.
25242 Linden.
Thank you.
I'm here representing AmeriCorps. I'm with Wayne State University, AmeriCorps Urban Safety Program Water Filter Education Project. Our program has been serving Metro Detroit for over 14 years. Our mission is to increase community safety and health through direct engagement with residents, connecting them to education and resources. Since 2021, we have partnered with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services for what is now the Get Ahead of Lead initiative, serving to educate residents about the potential hazards of lead contamination in the home and providing a point-of-use water filter to eligible households at no cost. Eligibility requires that the home contains or may contain lead or galvanized plumbing, any lead or galvanized service line carrying water from the street to your home, older faucets and fittings sold before 2014, and a resident on Medicaid who's either pregnant or under the age of 19. This project has been operating in local cities, including Inkster, Wayne, Harper Woods, East Point, Hamtramck, and Highland Park for 2 years. I remember in November 2023, that's when Redford notified the citizens that there was an issue with lead. They said not in the water, but in the pipes leading into the home. Is that correct? We at AmeriCorps was there at that time to help give out the filters to the homes of the people that qualified. We sent out these postcards to the residents here at Redford, and I have more of them. So many of you might have received them. We want to now come back because we want to help. We want to help by educating the citizens and also offering them the services that we have to help them with water filters in the house. And that never at any time do we request payment from the residents. This is free for you. We operate by canvassing door to door in the city and by making phone calls. We complete a brief survey about water use and eligibility, and if the household is eligible, we distribute items immediately or can set up delivery. If the resident needs assistance with the setup or installation, our AmeriCorps members are trained to do that as well. We'd love to continue offering these services to citizens at no cost. I'm here because I got a dog in this fight, because right now you know that you have an issue with lead in the system in Redford. So I'm here now to let you know AmeriCorps, we want to serve, we want to get out there, we want to canvass, we want to help the citizens here. And we tried to get out to do it before, and we were not given the opportunity to. So now I'm coming forward to support you now, to let you know that we are still here, we're still willing to help, and it still is at no cost to any of you. If you didn't receive these, I have some that I can put on the table, and you can get them, and you can contact us. But we want the township, rather, to let us in so that we can do what we need to do, and we can help you with any of the issues that you have with your lead.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Next, I have Charles Bradley.
Hello, everyone. My name's Charles Bradley. Address 20091 New Ghani. I'm not sure if I'm at the right place to be voicing my concern. I'm just running out of options. I have a drain ditch that's in front of my house that goes along the west side of the street on 2 blocks of New Ghani. And the water, when it rains, it collects in a ditch and goes all the way to the house and goes into the basement. Unfortunately, my neighbor next door lives on a slab, and the water goes into her house. And every time it rains, she's always got her vacuum out there. I've called the city since 2021 4 times. They sent me a request, a notice saying that they went and they cleaned the drains. But every time it rains, the same thing happens again. I truly believe that there needs to be a drain put in at the end of the street so the water can drain out, because it just keeps, I'm not the only house that gets, the water goes all the way up to the house, it's the whole block. And when I'm trying to rent out my house, and I can't because when it rains, they can't even park in the driveway because the water is up to their ankles, and they have to park across the street and try to figure out a way to get to the house because of that. And it's really frustrating. I've been dealing with this since 2021, and I really don't know what to do. This is my next step, was to come and talk with you guys, see if maybe you guys can help me somehow. I do have pictures. I have all the complaints that I called to the city, and they sent me a thing back saying that they cleaned the drains, and that was it.
Okay. Okay, well, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Al Bengit? Benoit, I'm sorry, sir.
I'm going to save my comments about public services till another meeting.
Okay,
But yeah, I had some concerns because it's like, I've lived here in Medford since 1988.
okay.
And I've
Yep.
called numerous times off of Graham and Woodbine, that bridge, the Rouge runs through, okay? It got to where it's collecting debris and dirt and weeds, and I called Mike Dennis.
Yep,
I got in a little heated discussion with him.
okay,
And I didn't like hearing, well, you know, I'm not his boss, he doesn't have to answer to me, okay? The point of it is, you're a public servant, okay? And I needed numbers. If you, here in Redford, as a council, as public services, whatever, if you guys don't have numbers that can get us in contact with MDOT or Wayne County, because they have a contractor that cleans these. And I'm wondering, why isn't this normal scheduled maintenance? I mean, I had a lot more that I want to say on this, you know, but it seems like it's always an excuse. And then Mike Dennis tells me they're shorthanded, okay? And this Redford Pride, what is that all about? I mean, it sounds to me like nobody cares. And that's what I got to say about that. I just think that this is something that needs to happen. It shouldn't be for the residents to call public services or calling you or anybody on the council to complain about this or that isn't getting done. I think our tax dollars pay for it. And I see all your inspectors drive around in nice vehicles, nice trucks that sit up on Woodbine sometimes, just sitting there. So, you know, this is, to me, is a major concern. And I'm getting tired of calling. I don't want to call and get in a heated discussion with any of you. But, you know, I pay taxes, okay? And something should be done about it. And we shouldn't have to continue to call. I mean, this should be something that's, like I said, normal scheduled maintenance, and someone needs to pay attention to it. And that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Benoit. I wish I knew you were going to talk that much. I thought you weren't going to talk that much because I would like to be.
Well-
Okay, Mr. Benoit, I only say that so if you're on the mic, people that are watching can hear what you have to say, and they may have the same concerns that you do.
Right.
Okay, so I apologize we didn't get you at the mic, but we're not going to have that happen again from now on. You know, you want to make sure everybody hears what you have to say.
Okay.
Okay?
I hear you.
Okay?
Well, I figure I spoke loud enough, they should hear me.
Okay, well, but that's the process, okay?
Okay, I understand.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next is Jen Mansfield.
Good evening, Honorable Board. I just wanted to come up and address you guys to remind everybody, yourselves, as well as the general public, this Saturday is our National Night Out. For those of you that are not familiar with it, this is a national event that it's usually the first Tuesday in August. As many of you know, there's usually a big event here the first Tuesday in August. So we like to move that off. And so this Saturday from 12 to 3 at our community center, we will have police officers, fighter fighters, lots of different community organizations that all gather out. And the whole idea is building relationships, getting to know each other, bringing some of these organizations' attention to the residents who may not know who they are. And there's a lot of fun activities. It's an entirely free event. We'll have all kinds of food. There will, of course, be ice cream again. You know, that's a fun one. I believe we're having mocktails this year, is what Officer Eddings has told me. So I'm very curious to see what that's going to be about. And I'd love to see each of you up there, and you guys as well. Please share that. Bring the kiddos out. I'm sure there's going to be some back-to-school surprises and some goodies for them to take home as well. Thank you.
Do consent agenda?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Next, we have, that's all the citizen comments, because we have Sue Feinberg from MERS, the regional manager, to give us a presentation.
Good evening. Well, thank you for having me tonight. It's nice to see you all again. It's been a year. These years go by pretty quickly. So I'm here tonight to review your 2023 actuarial valuation for your DB plan. And I think you all have a copy of this, hopefully. Great. Well, let's go ahead and get started with page 6, which always gives you a look back at what your funding level was the prior year. So we're looking at 2022 compared to where you were as of the end of 2023. So your funding level went from 55 to 58%. As you all know, you did receive the Treasury's pension grant, and that went into a surplus division for your plan. So this 58% funded does reflect that just over $2.2 million that you did receive from Treasury. It was meant to bring you up to 60%. Unfortunately, they used numbers from 2021, the actuarial valuation, when Treasury calculated what it would take to bring everybody's funding level up. And then we had 2022, which was definitely a market loss year. It was around 14%. And so that pulled everybody down. So that's the reason that you're not at 60. You did come down a little bit, but overall, your funding level is up. So that is a good thing. One of the things that we did do last year because the rate of return was just under 12%. And I think I talked about this last year. The board had adopted a dedicated gains policy. And so instead of making a lot of adjustments to the assumptions that go along with the actuaries' experience study that they do extensively every 5 years, which is coming up, they're going to start that in the next couple of months. They're making changes to the rate of return assumption when we have gains that we can buy down those basis points so that it's not negatively impacting your plan, pulling down your funding level and increasing your cost. And so the rate of return was at 7%. We did use part of those gains and brought the current rate of return assumption that's being used in this valuation down to 6.93%. So that's where it is currently going forward. Any questions about that? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next page. What the valuation does is it's projecting what your required employer contributions are going to be for your fiscal year starting in 2025. So as you can see on the far right side of this table, we have your fiscal year is April 1st. So this is what you're currently paying. Going over, you'll see starting April 1st of 2025, your contributions will be going up around $200,000 annually as you're working on bringing that funding level up. Feel free to stop me at any time and we can talk through this. I'm just going to kind of go through this at a high level. Let's go ahead and move to page 12. Page 12 is what you're looking at when you're budgeting forward. So we're looking at the top portion of the table. This is using the 6.93 rate of return assumption. You can see here the funding level shows that it's 53%. So the difference in the 58 and the 53 is when the money came in from Treasury, the township chose to put it in the surplus division, okay? So when it's in the surplus division, it is included in your overall assets. So that does bring your funding level to 58%. However, when the actuaries at the end of the year are calculating what your required minimum contributions are going to be going forward, they do not include that money. So they're billing you higher. So they're billing you as though the assets are not in there, but the assets are in there, earning interest with your other assets. And just as a reminder, that money can be moved out of the surplus division at any time. If you needed contribution relief or needed to put it in certain divisions, you can move it out or you can just leave it in that surplus division. But what you see here is the actuaries calculating what your contributions are going to be going forward without using the surplus money. Now, you do have some more surplus money coming in from Treasury. You should be notified, today's the 13th, the 15th to confirm. I'm sure Adam is on top of this one. How much you're going to be receiving from Treasury. I think I saw that it was going to be around $450,000. This grant money is going to be a little bit different because this grant money can be used towards your pension obligation or you can use it towards your OPEB valuation. That's something that you will let Treasury know, how you want to handle that. The money will come to us if you want to go ahead and put that in your plan. They'll automatically will put it in the surplus division. So that's a decision for the township to make. The next page, we're projecting forward. So we're going out a little bit farther so that you can see your funded percentage. Now that top graph, we're showing you where you are with surplus money and how we're billing you. So that solid blue line is the same as that top half of the table that we just looked at. No surplus assets. The line above that, that dotted blue line, that's your actual funding level. And so you can see the difference of actually where you are and where you're going to hit that 100% funded level more quickly going forward. So it's just a nice way to project out. Again, you can move the surplus money at any time. Below that, you can see where your contributions are going to be when you're looking at long-term projecting for the township. Again, we're looking at that solid blue line. The other lines are more conservative rate of return assumptions, just because some employers do choose to budget that way. So you can see it going out until it gets to about 2039, and then you have that sharp decline. That sharp decline is when you become 100% funded. And then you're just paying the normal cost for any of the actives in the plan to accrue service credit going forward. Any questions on that?
To the chair.
Mr. Jackson?
Actually, this was a question back on the first part of the presentation. When you talked about the Treasury grant that was supposed to bring us up to 60%, and they used apparently an old number. Is there any opportunity to get an adjustment on that, or were those funds already expended?
That was Treasury's choice to use the 2021 numbers for everyone who received the grant versus using the 2022 numbers. I know we did have conversations with them because there was a loss in 2022, so we knew even with that money coming in, it wouldn't bring everybody up to 60, but that was their decision. It's an excellent question. Okay, moving along to page 14. This is where we're just breaking it down by divisions, showing you what the normal cost is for each one of these divisions, for everyone in those divisions to earn another year of service credit based on the demographics of everyone in the divisions, and then also the provisions. The next column shows you what the employees are contributing towards that normal cost. And then going down, you'll see at the very bottom what the totals are. So obviously, you know, the biggest bulk of your contributions right now is paying down that unfunded liability. Going forward, we just have all the different divisions and their benefits, which are broken down by division. Table 3 on page 20 breaks down your participant summaries. So we're just giving you at the end of the year where you were. So at the end of the year, you had added 2 more actives to your plan. 1 more former vested employee, which is just someone who's vested, who's not eligible yet. You did have a couple of your retirees leave the plan. So you currently had, at the end of the year, 372 people total in the plan. And if we take a look next at page 23 on table 5, this is that flow of assets table, which if we go, it's a 10-year history, but looking at that very bottom portion of the table, if we're going across, this is what we billed you in that first column, at just over 2.6 million. That was the minimum requirement that was required of the township. The next column, those additional contributions, that was your grant money that went into the surplus division, showing you what the employee contributions were. The investment income is just over 1.8 million. Benefit payments going out, just over 4.3 million. Employee refunds, which is just anybody that left that took a refund of their employee contributions forfeiting a benefit is reflected, and then your asset balance of just over 35 million as of the end of the year. On the next page, we're breaking down the accrued liability for actives, vested former members in each division, your retirees and or their beneficiaries, and giving you the totals broken down by division. Now, if you look at the very last line on that, you'll see surplus unassociated. So this is your surplus division, and this is the total assets that are in that division currently. And it also shows any interest is separately added onto that, that surplus division. The rest of the tables, like we went over before, they're historical. It breaks down funding levels, employer contributions, employee contributions by division for everyone in your plan. We have the GASB 68 information for you, and then we have your historical information that starts on page 50 that breaks it down by division, anything that has happened in that division since the time you came into MERS. And then the very last page of this report gives you all of the numbers that you're going to need for Treasury's reporting on an annual basis for Form 5572. Any questions?
To the chair. Thank you, Sue, for that presentation. I just wanted to address a couple things that she said in her comments. Just remind you, so the discussion we've had about the surplus, the reason we've been putting everything towards the surplus is the goal of that is to decrease our market volatility and responsiveness and needs for fluctuating numbers. That's why that's helping us, so that if the markets do go south, or if we do go into some sort of recession over time, that'll help protect us. So that's why we've been doing that. Regarding the Michigan pension grant, I did speak to Treasury last week to get an update on that, because the supervisor and I had to file with them where we would like to put the money. They're actually anticipating, because the original estimates that they provided were based off of incorrect data. So when we provided the corrected data, they're estimating that we will actually get approximately 50% of what we're eligible for. So they're looking at just around $1 million.
Okay.
So quite a bit better. And so we're going to put that, though, towards OPEB, because we've been talking about that. We've been putting all of our excess towards OPEB, because that's where we're not making those annual required contributions. But I will have that information probably next board meeting, the actual number. Just wanted you guys to know that.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Okay. Well, thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Mancini.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, Honorable Board. Thank you for holding this public hearing for me today. Oh, actually, I think we have to open it first.
Won't make motion go. Have a motion go.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the public hearing.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So to explain a little bit of what we're doing here, the CDBG program requires a substantial amendment anytime you change your planned activities or funding 25% or more of your grant. We've done this twice with this particular annual action plan, the 2019. Both times it was for the COVID funds that we received for the CB funding. That's what we're back for again. We were actually awarded a total of $745,867 through two tranches of CB money, COVID 1 and COVID 3. The funds were awarded to prepare, prevent, and respond to the COVID pandemic, and had very specific rules for things that we could, fund. We had to follow CDBG rules, our normal income requirements, et cetera, and also have that clear tie back to PPR. The activities that we originally set out for these funds included rental, mortgage, and small business assistance, along with funding some increased dollars to Redford Interfaith and Lincoln Behavioral Services, as well as funding some administrative activities. As the effects of the COVID pandemic ease, we have not been able to qualify applicants to receive these funds and still meet that PPR tieback. So we've been searching for a new use for the remaining funds, approximately $322,000. Through discussions with HUD, we would like to proceed with a window replacement project at the community center, the current community center. The project would qualify because it would provide operable windows to improve the ventilation in the building, which would meet the tieback for prevention. With the 6-year funding expiration looming, we would like to proceed with this project to use these funds allocated to Redford Township. This substantial amendment is the first step towards accomplishing that goal. On July 10th of '24, we ran an ad in the newspaper, on our website, as well as in township buildings to advertise the public hearing and to notify the public of a comment period that opened July 14th, closing today, August 13th. As of today, we've not received any public comments on our intended plan. So at this time, I'd like to answer any questions regarding the substantial amendment from the board or the public in hopes that we can move forward for the amendment later in the meeting, actually item 1 today.
Questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Trustee King.
The dollar amounts that are listed to be transferred, for example, the residential mortgage assistance program, was the $62,000 the total allocated, or is that just the remaining balance?
No, so for, that's the remaining balance. The total allocated for mortgage was 120 and for rental was 120, and small business was 200.
Okay.
That's what's remaining that we haven't used.
Other questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
Director Mancini, I noticed that the only one that didn't use any of the funds that were allocated for the COVID relief funds, that it looks like we were able to give out some for rental assistance, small business, was Lincoln Behavioral. Did they just not respond, or did they not have any programs that they needed those funds for?
So the original intention of those funds were for, mental assistance. The problem was, as they started the program, they didn't get the necessary income qualification data that we needed. And so during our monitoring, it was discovered that we didn't have exactly what we needed, so we had to cancel that activity. They weren't able to produce it.
Was that a one-time shot for them back when these funds became available?
Yeah, it
Couldn't
would have been.
reapply over the years?
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
it was for that one time.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Questions from the audience? If you have a question, please come up to the mic so we can come up there so everybody can hear you, even at home. So you might have the question that we all want to know the answer to, so.
Good. I'm Venus Glenn. I live on Elsinore Street. How you doing?
Yeah, good to see you.
Yay. I'm not quite sure. I've only been in Redford like 5 years. So I guess my question is, how would we have received information about this? Were the incomes too low for people to meet? Because I know usually if you apply for something, the income that people have to meet is usually something like $12,000 or $15,000. What was the income required for those funds to be used?
So the income requirement is basically the same as our CDBG program. So they start at 80% median income to qualify. So it's not really a real low amount. We put out the information on the website with links to the applications, as well as on Facebook and various things. The main issue we were having is, as far as the rental and mortgage assistance, again, having to have that PPR tieback. Their delinquency had to be based on an effect of COVID. Their income had to go down as an effect of COVID. So we were getting a lot of applicants that were already behind. They weren't not paying their rent because they weren't working. They were just not paying their rent because it was previously behind and they couldn't catch up. So the people we were able to help were people that were current at the time COVID happened, and they either were laid off, lost their job, their income went down, that sort of thing.
And this is not something that can be rolled over into a new year, because COVID has not gone away and we don't know what's coming up this season.
Right, so this program, if we don't spend these funds by 2026, they have to go back to HUD. So we don't want to gamble on, is there going to be a mass thing where we need this again and lose the funding altogether. So I would say the last year or so, we really haven't had any applicants that are even close to meeting the requirements for this particular funding source.
Okay. And new windows for the center on Hemingway.
On Hemingway, correct.
Oh, that's an old building too.
Correct.
So we couldn't use those funds. This is just a question because I don't know.
Okay.
I heard something earlier about, flooding going into someone's home. We couldn't put that in that fund?
No, ma'am, these particular funds are exactly tied to COVID, and they can only be to prepare, prevent, and respond to a COVID or COVID-like pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you much.
No problem.
I'll see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there are questions from the public? Any other questions from the public? Oh, please go up to Mike.
John Keenan, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yes, I'm okay. I guess the other thing is, I looked at the balance sheet and there's some money left over, and I was wondering if you had a recommendation with respect to what to do with the additional money based on your restrictions relative to using the COVID money.
So the additional funding that was not moved,
I'll just sit down.
sure, that's fine. The additional funding that is still there is in our admin. So is when any activity that we're working on, there's a certain amount of admin costs that go into that for administering the program. So we had to leave some in there to cover that, as well as when we do spend all the money, we have to close out our grant. And when you're closing out the grant, HUD will only allow us to bill that time to admin for this program. So we had to leave a little cushion
Okay,
there.
but my question was, do you have other recommendations how to use the money? It's my understanding we're building a health facility, which may be connected to some money. Can any of that money be put over there?
No, because we're building the Health and Wellness Center. It's really not related to COVID whatsoever, so there's no
What
tie.
other areas can you put in money that you haven't detailed already?
That's the problem, sir. The ideas we had as far as rent and mortgage and business, we thought would be no problem to use that money, and it wasn't. So now we have very limited ideas. It actually took a lot of time to go through various ideas with HUD for what they would approve.
Okay, so you need some more ideas on how to spend the money.
Well, the money should be spent in
But you
this
have-
one particular activity.
And you have more, okay, all right.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any money left by the time we're done.
Okay, all right, well, that's good. We want to spend all the money. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience, from our residents, anything? Any other questions from the board? Hearing no other questions from anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing.
Support.
Been moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Trustee Taylor, would you take that, please?
Certainly. Consent agenda items as follows. I move to approve, 1, the minutes of the special meeting, June 11th, 2024, the minutes of the regular meeting, June 23rd, 2024, the warrant list of bills as of August 9th, 2024, in the total amount of $3,670,891.17. The MERS Annual Actuarial Valuation Report as of 12/31/23 and GASB Statement Number 68, as of 12/31/23. GASB Statements Number 74 and 75, Accounting and Financial Reporting for Post-Employment Benefits Other Than Pension as of 3/31/2024 for general employees. GASB Statements Number 67 and 68 for the Redford Township Police and Fire Retirement System Pension Fund as of 3/31/24. GASB Statements Number 74 and 75, Accounting and Financial Reporting for Post-Employment Benefits Other Than Pension as of 3/31/24 for police and fire employees, and advertisements for bid for concrete replacement project at Minnick Meadows in the South Fire Station.
Second.
Second by Trustee Jackson. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business, Director Mancini.
Hello again. Honorable Board, I'm here to ask for approval of the item we just spoke about, the substantial amendment to our 2019 annual action plan, which would ultimately create an activity for windows and remove the balances in the open accounts and close those out.
Questions from the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Trustee King.
I move approval of the substantial amendment to the Community Development Block Grant Program 1-year annual action plan fiscal year 2019 through 2020.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Taylor. So the motion is to approve approval of the substantial amendment to the County Development Block Grant CDBG Program 1-year action plan for year 2019 through 2020. Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Kavanaugh is absent. Mr. Christie, yes. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Director Mancini,
Yeah, I have
continue.
one more item before you. I would like to request the approval of the sale of a property. It's a vacant lot at 192615 Points to the neighbor, Ivan Carrizo. We actually purchased this property. Actually, we didn't purchase it. It was more or less given to us from Wayne County. So it was after the first right of refusal, we get the second right of refusal, and then anything less they offer to us, and we have to object if we don't want it. So that process is usually, a few small vacant lots, and we happen to notice this vacant lot was enclosed with another home, the address next door at 19253. It's fenced in with that property. I included a picture for you. It's two 40-foot lots. And the previous owner had lost it, more than likely, no fault of their own. And the reason I say that is when a property would go through foreclosure, like bank foreclosure, a lot of times what would happen is if there was two parcels, the bank would not sell both parcels because they wouldn't know about it because they weren't the owner. And they no longer do survey work when you purchase a home. So this kind of happens a lot. And when we notice it, we try to pick up those parcels to get back to the homeowner and make them whole. In this instance, the homeowner at the time, we were never able to get a hold of, and as we found out, she had passed away. So we ended up, it was sold to Ms. Calito, and she reached out to us knowing that we owned it, and so we're able to finally get that parcel back to the, I would say, the rightful owner.
Questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
Michelle, you just said it was sold to Ms. Calito previously?
No, so when the property went to tax foreclosure, it was owned by someone else. When that owner passed away, it looks like another company purchased it, and then they sold it, and the new owner of that home that is fenced in next to it didn't realize it wasn't connected, right? And so in doing some checking, she found out that we owned it, and I had, no way of knowing that her contact information or anything. We try to get in touch with people. Sometimes we get in touch with people and they're really angry. They don't believe that we own part of their lot, but she kind of tracked it down herself and wanted to acquire it.
So she's the one that had it fenced in and attached to her own property?
No, the owner that passed away. So at the time that it was foreclosed, the owner that lived in that property that she lives in now didn't realize she had two separate parcels. So the vacant lot parcel is the one that got foreclosed. Her house was current, all of her payments were current. But like I said, when we tried to track her down to see if she'd like to acquire it back, she had passed away in the meantime, so.
How do we come to $1,500 then if there's no cost to us on that?
So normally what we do is, on these vacant lots, we ask the purchaser to make an offer, and that was the offer.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Other questions from the board? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Chair,
Trustee Jackson.
I move for the approval of SNAP, Program Sale of Property, 19261 5 Points, vacant lot, ID number 79-0002-07-0017-001 for the purchase price of $1,500 to Ivan Colito, and appoint the Director of Community Development, Michelle Mancini, to act as an authorized representative on behalf of Redford Township to complete the necessary paperwork to finalize the transaction.
Support.
Supported by trustee Kennedy. So the motion is for approval of the SNAP 2 program sale property, 192615 Points vacant lot, ID number 79-002-07-0017-001, with a purchase price of $1,500 to Ivan Polito, and appoint Director of Community Development Michelle Mancini to act as the authorized representative on behalf of Redford Township to complete the necessary paperwork to finalize the transaction. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Christie, yes. Mr. McRae?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director
Now I'll leave you
Mancini.
guys alone.
Trustee Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, Honorable Board. Next before you is a service agreement with Raymond Capital Advisory Group to provide financial advisory services for the OPEB General Employees Trust Fund. This evening, we have with us Stephen Gibson, who will be the principal for this project, and his colleague, Mark. Treasurer Kavanaugh and I have known Stephen for a long time, from various pension conferences and the like over the years. And actually, originally, several years ago, when we first consolidated the entire 457 plan, that was kind of the brainchild of Mr. Gibson, and then he happened to change employers. And so it was a great opportunity to be able to work with him again, and he's here to introduce himself and give a couple remarks.
Thank you, Honorable Board. Good to be here. First off, you've done a really great job with starting and putting assets into the OPEB plan. So you're taking a really good first step. And the second step, which we would love to be able to deliver and help you out with, is diversification of the assets in the OPEB plan to help better meet the obligations as they come forward and keep on a really good track. Our firm, Raymond Capital Advisory Group, oversees over $4 billion of assets, over $1 billion of institutional assets. Dave Latimer and I are dedicated to this space. We'd love to work with the township on an ongoing basis, put an investment policy statement in place, putting in the guidelines for the OPEB plan, and working to implement those on behalf of the township and the participants of the plan.
Questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Jackson.
Director Bonner, is this a new service, replacement service?
It is it's kind of both. It is a new service for this fund. This is the fund that, if you may recall, I know when I was first hired as the finance director in 2018, was funded at about 4.9%. As of the most recent GASB statement, which isn't directly correlated to evaluation, but as of the most recent GASB this year, it's now at 31%. So it's made a lot of progress. But the reason why I kind of say it's both is that at the time, when it only had 4% funding, it didn't have enough capital in the fund to be able to really deal with the volatility of being invested in the market potentially. And so the treasurer and I didn't really feel comfortable doing that. Now that it is better funded, is the time to really take advantage of proper investments in the market. So all of our other funds already have this. This is the one fund that didn't.
So is this firm already handling our other?
They are not handling our other ones. The police and fire retirement system uses AndCo, which they've used for a long time. And that would be the other one. And then, of course, we have MERS for our general employees' pension.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
Is it, when you say the police and fire have the ANCO, who chooses the representation for the funds? Is it admin? Is it the police and fire pension board?
The Police and Fire Pension Board.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions from the board? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor?
I move that we approve the service agreement with Raymond Capital Advisory Group LLC for financial advisory services for the OPEB General Employees Trust Fund.
Support.
Moved and supported. The motion is approval of the service agreement with RAM Capital Advisory Group LLC for financial advisory services for the OPEB General Employees Trust Fund. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes?
Mr. Christie, yes. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes. Motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, the next item before you is really just a piece of housekeeping. It's a resolution to update the authorized signatories with MERS. During a recent account review, I realized that this needed to be updated. They do their authorized signatories based on roles. And so the roles that had been on file were the finance director, the HR director, and the superintendent. This is simply updating superintendent to be supervisor.
Questions from the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Jackson?
I move for the approval of the resolution and authorized signatures for MERS.
Support.
Supported. Motion is approval of the resolution adopting the authorized signatures for MERS. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Director Bonner.
All right, the final item before you this evening from me, though you all know that doesn't necessarily mean it's the last time you'll hear me talk this evening, is the recommendation for a new, for a service agreement for a new healthcare broker. And this is the result of a RFQ process that began back in April. We received 11 responses to that RFQ, and Director Washington and myself reviewed those initial submissions and narrowed the list to 3 finalists. Our current broker, TMR, our recommendation, Minquin Vance, and USI. And then we conducted interviews with a 4-person panel of myself, Supervisor McCray, Director Washington, and our senior accountant, Rita Cheedy, to do a lengthy review process with all of them. And all 4 of us ranked Minquin Vance as our first choice. So this would be to replace our current healthcare broker with Minquin Vance. Moving forward, we do have Todd E. here with us this evening. I'm saying Todd E. because I realized that I don't know if he pronounces his name the traditional German way or the traditional English way. So I'm just going to say Todd E., but he is here to introduce himself and Minquin Vance.
Good evening, Honorable Board. It's Todd Urich. So you can do German or English, either way.
Good to know.
But pleased to be here tonight. I'm representing the firm of Minquin Vance. We are employee benefits consultants, healthcare brokers. We work exclusively with municipal clients. We're currently with about 40 municipal clients, many of your neighbors, and really are here to support all functions of the employee benefits administration, strategy, and financial aspects of the plan. I'm really excited that I had the opportunity to work with the township. We have a team of employees in our Troy office, so we're local. I'm really here to support all of the employees of the township and everything they do with the benefit plan.
Questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor?
Actually, I was just looking at the services provided by the consultant. Will that be you or is that somebody else with the company?
There's a team of people that will be providing the services. So there's the strategic leads, which is myself and John Vance. We have financial resources. We call them analysts who work directly in terms of cost tracking and reporting. And then we have an account manager who helps with things like compliance, and administration of the plan. We also have a benefits specialist who's somebody really there to help handle the day-to-day operations of the plan, and including any technology issues that come up with the plan.
Fantastic.
So it's a team of people. It's not just me.
And I'm excited to see some of the services, like the strategic benefit planning, I think is something that we definitely need here in the township, something we've talked about for a while, about the needs of each individual employee, and not that it's a blanket coverage that really serves everybody. And
I mean, that was one of the things that I think, or at least I really liked, but I think everyone did in their interviews, was that, they're the subject matter experts. And we don't necessarily know what we don't know, and so we're relying on them to tell us those things. And even in the interview, there are some things that are going on with Medicare and CMS that we didn't know were coming down the line. And here's a memo about it that we've been telling all of our clients about. Just that proactive nature of looking at the strategy of what you should be offering.
And altering that too with the OPEB, anything to help bring down those OPEB costs and to help bring up our funding levels. To see that can happen through this type of healthcare services is essential too. So
Yes.
I think it's a great plan, great scope of services provided.
Any other questions from the board? I just want to say that it was a very good interviewing process. I think we picked a great group to represent our township for now and into the future. They offer a lot more things than we've ever had. And they're looking to the future, not just what's happening now. They're out front in case something else is available. They let us know about it, and so we can continue to adjust the plan to get the maximum benefit for the dollars that we're spending. So.
The only thing I would request when whoever makes the motion is, it's in the memo, but it's not on the agenda, is that when you make the motion to please authorize me to sign the agreements.
It's there.
It's there.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay.
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
I move that we approve the contract agreement and HIPAA agreement with Maquin Vance to provide healthcare brokerage services and authorize Adam Bonerick to sign the agreements.
Support.
Supported by Trustee King. The motion is for approval of the contract agreement and HIPAA agreement with Making Vance to provide healthcare brokerage services and authorize Adam Bonerick to sign the agreements. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Christie, yes. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Adam. Next, Director Washington, please.
Good evening, Honorable Board members. I'm here this evening, first off, to talk about a township-wide rehire policy. Earlier this year, Supervisor McCray, myself, and Director of Operations Bonerick, we were looking at the PAF, and we saw in our PAF where it says, are you eligible for rehire, yes or no? So we went back and we tried to find the policy that gave us authorization to do that, and we didn't really find one. So I was tasked with the procedure to develop a policy, which I shared with Attorney John Clark, and he reviewed and he made amendments to, and that's the policy I bring before you today. This policy will be township-wide, whereas before we were like, okay, well, this rehire policy, is it for that department or is it township-wide? What does that mean, yes or no? So this policy sort of fleshes that out and it puts it in writing on paper. And I would just ask the Honorable Board to agree to accept this policy and to make it a township-wide.
I just want to say that, when we went through this, the box was on that form. Nobody could tell me why it was there or when it got put there, or if we had any documentation of why it was there. So either we had to find a reason to have it there or to take it off.
Yes.
So this is the result of that inquiry. So that's what I have to say.
To the chair.
Chair.
Trustee Jackson.
Do the unions have to approve this policy separately? Or because it says township-wide, is it assumed that the unions will accept it?
Well, this, at the pleasure of the board, this is a township-wide policy.
We have a deputy clerk and can have a deputy supervisor, and we can have a deputy treasurer. All three serve at the pleasure of an elected official. Does this policy also extend to those employees who are at the sole discretion of an elected official?
Well, they would fall underneath this policy. It's township-wide. And even though that person serves at the pleasure of their director or, elected official, the elected official would also this would enumerate why and how they should check the different boxes. Yes or no? Gives them more of a foundation as to see who's eligible for rehire, who isn't eligible for rehire.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
Do deputies have to fill out a PAF?
Well, a PAF is filled out for deputies, yes.
And they're considered
And it's filled out by the
employees?
elected official and submitted to HR, who then fills it out. We do our magic and we send it to finance.
I think if I may, I think this is one of those unique situations where the deputies, you have the conflict between the elected official's right to appoint a deputy, that they can appoint whoever they want, and whether or not the board chooses to offer an employment agreement with that deputy. They're the only people that would really apply to, but those are really two separate things. So you could have a scenario, theoretically, where you had an elected official who wanted to appoint someone who is in violation of this policy. You can't stop the elected official from appointing that person as their deputy, but you could choose as the board that you're not going to
offer
compensate that
contracts.
person with an employment agreement.
Because it violates policy. So this would apply to appointeds, directors, higher-ups from the tippy top if we needed a director for DPS, all the way down to somebody who's working in the Parks Department that's doing lawn maintenance. It doesn't
Correct.
matter.
Correct.
When we say township-wide, and if the board accepts this and puts this into motion, then it's township-wide.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Washington. So if this policy goes into effect and the township board approves it, it starts today, correct?
Yes.
So anybody that has any past problems or whatever it was doesn't directly affect them because this policy was in effect when circumstances occurred.
Yes.
So this is said because the policy wasn't there in the past, and we're making a policy going forward that we don't have that problem ever again.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
So it doesn't affect what's happened. It
Understood.
only affects moving forward from this.
Anybody hired before this would be grandfathered in,
Right.
so to speak.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely, yep.
Okay, yeah, we couldn't go backwards and go, hey,
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that's clear, that's all. Other questions from the board? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
I move that we approve the new Employee Civil Service Commission approved rehire policy. Support.
It's been moved and supported, so the motion is to approval of the Employee Civil Service Commission approved rehire policy. Any other questions? I think I'd like a roll call vote on this one.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Christie, no. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. McRae?
Yes. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. I'm also here before you tonight with asking for the approval of the creation of the Redford Township Safety Committee. I'm asking you as the board members to approve that policy. In the main contract, there's a stipulation, an article that says MAPE members, the MAPE will have one member that is that will represent that organization on the safety committee for the township. Well, our departments have individual departments, but we didn't have a township-wide safety committee. So once again, I was tasked with creating a policy that not only created a safety committee policy, but also talked about how that policy is going to be staffed and where we'll go from this point forward. And so I humbly ask that the board approve the safety committee policy from this point forward.
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
Director Washington, I noticed that you wrote that the committee should be made up of at least 4 members and not to exceed 7 members. The number of the safety committee management representatives will only be chosen by management. I'm unclear if the members of the safety committee are coming from the different bargaining agreements, if they're coming from different departments, if you can pick 7 members all from MAPE and nobody from police or fire. How does that, it doesn't specify.
Well, each major department has 1 member. That's 1 from DPS, 1 from police, 1 from fire. And then we also, when we met, informally, the directors were saying, you know, we should probably have a member not only from MAPE, but all of the different unions. And so with those 4 unions and then the 3 management representatives, that would give us 7 people.
So I think that possibly in section C, because it doesn't specify that they're coming from different departments, it just says 4 members chosen by management. It doesn't specify like each department. How do we know the intention of the policy for the 4 to 7 members? Should we add something in that section to be specific that, does management of DPS pick the committee member for DPS? Does management for Parks and Rec pick their, how do we spell that out is simply and cleanly to know that the committee members are coming from individual departments?
I think that the reason why it's not in the policy is because the CBAs address it. So the CBA that we have signed, like with MAPE, for example, says that MAPE will have a representative on this committee. So that's where it's being addressed, is in the CBA. So you could put it here too, but I'm just saying it's being addressed through the CBA.
So the 4 members are, we have 3 CBAs. Who's the 4th?
We have 4, this is command.
Oh, that's right, command. Okay, so that's the 4. So would it not be, will be made up of at least 4 members from the CBA and 3 from non-union departments? Could that be clean enough that we could just specify? Or do you not feel it's necessary because it's already in the language of the CBA?
I didn't think it was necessary, and I don't think John did either, because it was in the
This was
CBA.
And you're reviewed by John Clark, Attorney John Clark.
I'm just thinking like 10 years down the line from now, somebody finds this policy,
Right.
are they gonna go, who's supposed to be the members of the committee, right?
If those are the questions that the board has at this point, it may be best to ask for Attorney Clark to address that question and see whether or not it should be revised.
Right.
So if I could then make a motion to table this until the next meeting to address if we need specifics of who those committee members should be?
I'm talking about C specifically.
Yes, specifically.
Okay. All right.
To the chair,
Trustee Jackson.
I'm also curious as to what the requirements are for a person to be the member. And I know they have to be selected by the department, but are there some kind of qualifications, experience, or knowledge that you're looking for when you pick a person to be on this team?
No, we just want individuals with different department subject matter knowledge. And as a committee, we'll go through and look at different items and things like that. But, with safety, I'm not actually trained to be a safety representative, but I have worked with workers' comp providers, and I've gone through walkthroughs with them, and so you sort of pick up knowledge that way, when you do it. But as far as having actual qualifications, the main thing is we're looking for subject matter people who can look at their department and see. When we see when we get a situation, that person can give us knowledge about their department, how that could occur, how we might be able to prevent something like that in the future.
The other thing that I'm curious about, this is a new committee that's being formed. How is it already in the CBA?
It was this shouldn't be a new committee. It should have already been a safety committee.
So
I'm just dotting i's and crossing t's.
Okay, got it.
Well, and I guess I also say that once they have the representatives from the different areas, that once you know who your representative is on a committee, you can go to that representative if you have a problem in your area and say, we have a problem with whatever it is, and they will take that to the committee and address.
Right.
So that, so everybody will have somebody. So you don't have to have, somebody doesn't have to have all the knowledge of everything. They just have to be willing to represent and then gather information from the other people in their areas. So,
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
Last question regarding when it says that will be chosen by management, because this is a CBA topic, is the language in the CBA that for like our police and fire departments, is management considered the chiefs or not part of the CBA, or is it labor that is considered management?
Well, as far as a management representative, the chief would be designating someone to represent the department.
So the chief is termed management
Yes.
in that case?
But as far as the union is concerned, they will designate from their union will be their representative.
So the union's choosing then, not the chief?
No, the union is choosing the union representative.
Each union
will choose their own
It's not
representative.
management.
I think there's both. There's both things. The four union members are selected by the union. The 3 management representatives are selected by management.
Then that needs to be spelled out too, because the way that this written, it says management chooses all the representatives.
It says the number of safety committee management representatives will only be chosen by management.
Well, I think, I tend to agree. I think
That's
that C needs to be rewritten so that
To
it's
be more clear.
so it's defined and clear, so we're not
So we know that the
guessing.
CBA picks their own representatives, that non-union Civil Service Commission members choose
Yeah.
their own,
And who chooses? I agree. I think that we need to,
Yeah,
that
it
needs
just
to
needs a
rewrite.
little clarification. We need it written to like, we're not going to be here the next time around.
The union will choose their members and
Yeah.
management will choose their.
However that is, but, so trustee Taylor, you have a motion to table this until the attorney comes up with a new way of telling us about number C.
Yeah, if you can get it by the next board meeting. Adam, do you think that's possible? Or just table it until John brings the language back?
I would just table it until John brings the language back.
Okay, then my motion would be to table item number 7 under new business until the attorney reviews the policy.
Support. Moved and supported. I will say that we will encourage John to do this sooner than later.
Thank
Because it should be an easy fix, and I don't want this to get lost in the shuffle somewhere. It's important to have safety for all the people who work here. So it's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, Honorable Board.
Thank you. Chief Mansfield.
Good evening again, Honorable Board. Before you tonight, you have a memo requesting approval to purchase a Street Smarts virtual reality training system for our police department. Why is this out here for you? Well, how cool is virtual reality and the next best thing for training? What is really great about a simulator system and virtual reality is it gives us the opportunity to put our officers into different situations and scenarios that we just truly cannot replicate in real life. What this system is set up to do is allow our officers to utilize some of their de-escalation training that they have been receiving. It allows them to face different types of scenarios in order for them to practice making the correct decisions. What is nice about this particular system, the Street Smarts, because we've done some demo work with them, it is a fully customizable system. What does that mean? It means I can create the type of scenario, the location of the scenario, the occupants. I can I can create the makeup of the individuals involved. I can do race, gender, size, their different skill sets. This system allows our officers to utilize all the different tools that they have available to them. And this particular system comes with 2 headsets. Why is that important? Because my officers work in pairs. So they allows them to train together and make the same motions that they will be making out in the real world. This particular system, we are asking that it be purchased through ADS for a purchase price of $147,250. This is based upon a Sourcewell contract that is already out, and we would like to utilize grant funds from our 2023 COPS de-escalation grant that was accepted earlier this year.
Okay, Chief, this program, where are we going to do it at? I mean, where is it going to be run?
Where is it going to be?
Yes.
Great question. It can be anywhere I take it to. It actually is contained within a laptop in an equipment case. So a lot of the times it's going to be in our emergency operations center because that's our local room where we have space. I can set it up in here. We can use it at schools. We can use it at homes. So it's very movable, and that gives us a lot of flexibility in how we wish to use it. So I can actually take it out and use it for different community groups if I choose, as well as my officers.
So it's a mobile unit, and it doesn't matter the size of the room that you can adapt to.
As long as they can move around a little bit. They need about, 10 to 12 square feet of space to move around.
Great, thank you. Questions from the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Jackson.
This says that you have a contract through 3/26.
I do not have a contract through there. It is a Sourcewell contract. It's very similar to My Deals. So Sourcewell has agreed to honor that cost, as well as they gave us a direct quote, which should be in your packet, yes. And as soon as I get approval from this board, God willing, I will order it promptly.
Thank you.
Trustee Taylor.
So that was kind of piggybacking my question. I wasn't sure Sourcewell's involvement. I wasn't sure if they were providing software or what they're providing in this one-year contract.
What it is it is very similar to My Deals because of the purchase price of this type of equipment. Utilizing a Sourcewell-approved vetted contract, it basically saves me from going through an RFP.
Okay, but it's a one-time purchase. There's no reoccurring contract or cost. We're going to own this equipment. There's no software that goes with this that's going to be a recurring cost with this.
There is software included with it. We will be purchasing the newest updated version. Let's be honest, like any kind of technology, I'm sure at some point in time, there'll be an upgraded software package available for us to purchase. But it is completely usable and hopefully for various multiple years.
And
right at this
lastly,
purchase price.
just about function of this simulator, is this the type of VR simulator that you can alter the scenario as it's happening, like based on the reaction of the officer?
Yes. I can alter the types of scenario. I can alter what's going on during it. I can also stop it, replay it, have a debrief with the officers, and have them do it again. And now we can compare what they've learned after they've spoken with our training cadre.
Brilliant, thank you.
To the chair.
Trustee Kennedy.
Once we approve this, how long will it take once you order it to get it?
It's usually about 60 to 90 days, just because they have to put it in production. I'm kind of hoping I might get a little quicker.
And you'll start it right away?
As soon as I can get my training cadre up to speed, and that's actually part of the purchase price, is Street Smarts will send out a team to train my trainers, who can then train the rest of my training cadre, and they will be good to go.
Okay.
Other questions from the board? Hearing none, what's, non-board.
Sorry, just when you make the motion, please do not include that 1503 number at the end of the GL.
Oh, that was.
Including that ties it to ARPA.
Okay, so get rid of 153, 1503.
Yes.
1503.
Sorry,
Okay,
Mr. Bonner, that was a
block it
project
out.
code.
It's gone.
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
I move that we approve the purchase of a Street Smarts virtual reality use of force simulator through ADS, which has a Sourcewell contract number 011822-ADS with a maturity date of 3/23/26 at the cost of $147,250. This purchase will utilize funds from the 2023 COPS de-escalation grant and be taken from GL 101-30100, excuse me, -977000.
Support.
Supported by trustee Jackson. The motion is for approval to purchase Street Smarts virtual reality use force simulator through ADS, which has Sourcewell contract number 011822-ADS with a maturity date of 3/23/2026 at a cost of $147,250. This purchase will utilize from the 2023 COPS de-escalation grant and taken from GL 101-30100-97700. Any other questions from the board? Roll call vote.
Mr. Christie, yes. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King? Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Director Stokes.
Good evening, Honorable Board. Before you is the bid recommendation for the Handy Park Pickleball Court Installation Project. As you may recall, this is being paid for through the MEDC grant, $750,000 that we received through Senator Kavanaugh and the state that they were able to secure. So along with the Park Commission, they wanted to move forward with doing the new Handy Park pickleball court. So in this recommendation, we did have 5 bidders. We broke that down into a base bid, and then when we did our walkthroughs, the contractors had some alternatives and some suggestions on the actual base itself. So we split that out so they could bid it based on what some of their recommendations were. It was just the general asphalt. The second one was a tennis court asphalt mix itself, and then the third one was a concrete overlay. So with the recommendations that came in and the bid prices, along with Wade Trim, we are asking for the approval to award Asphalt Specialist Inc. in the for this base bid. But because there's we need 2 motions. So the first one would be to approve the overall budget for the project, which would be not to exceed $534,900. That number includes the recommendation of the $479,000 plus the alternate $8,000 to move and relocate one of the light poles for better lighting over there. And then there is a 10% contingency we're asking off that base bid, which is the additional $477,900. That's just in case we are utilizing the existing tennis court like we did over at Craft Park, and we're gonna go ahead and pulverize that and use that as a base. But we just wanna make sure that in case anything happens, that base isn't too stable, we have that in contingency for the township to be able to allocate. And then the second motion, obviously, would be to award the contract itself to Asphalt
Okay,
Specialties.
so if you have the memorandum that was sent on August 7th by Director Stokes.
Correct.
It has it split out in 1 and 2, so if the motions are made from those two statements, then we will be giving Director what she's asking.
Correct.
So we need two motions on this. The first will be to approve the money, the budget.
To the chair.
Trustee Jackson.
Teresa Stokes, when did this work begin and how long do you think it would take?
We have it slated to start September 1st and then be done no later than November 15th. So obviously, that's going to be dependent on the weather. We have talked a little bit in the walkthrough about the actual coating on the surface, whether it's better to wait and finish that up in the spring. But it's all going to be dependent. We might have a really mild winter and some good weather coming up. So, the hopes is it'd be completed by November 15th.
Other questions from the board? What's the pleasure of the board?
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
I move to approve the overall budget for the Handy Park Pickleball Installation Project not to exceed $534,900 to be paid through the MEDC grant funding. This amount includes the base bid of Alt 1B, Alt 1D, and a 10% contingency on the base.
Support.
Supported by Trustee King. So the motion is to approve the overall budget for the Handy Park Pickleball Installation Project not to exceed $534,900 to be paid through MEDC grant funding. This amount includes the base bid, Alt 1B, Alt 1D, and a 10% contingency on the base. Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Christie, yes. Mr. McCray?
Yes.
To the chair.
Trustee Taylor.
I move to award the Handy Park Pickleball Installation Project in the amount of $479,000, which includes the base bid and the tennis court asphalt mix in alternate 1B to the low bidder Asphalt Specialists, Inc., and to include Alt 1D in the amount of $8,000 pending further exploration, both to be paid through the MEDC grant funding.
Support.
Supported by Trustee King. So the motion is to award the Handy Park Pickleball installation project in the amount of $479,000, which includes the base bid and the tennis court asphalt mix in alternate 1B to the low bidder Asphalt Specialists Incorporated, and to include Alt 1D in the amount of $8,000 pending further exploration, both to be paid through MEDC grant funding. Any other questions? Roll call vote.
Ms. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Christie, yes. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
got the
I was
floor.
just waiting.
Yes.
Better make sure it was the right one.
No. We're ready.
So I come before you again. Our former appointment for the Senior Citizen Veterans Coordinator has returned to the private sector. At this time, we are requesting that the board approve the appointment of a new Senior Citizen and Veterans Coordinator as Jessica Mistak. Jessica has over 22 years experience in both government, recreation, seniors, and transportation. She interviewed with us the first time around, and I have known Jessica for a very long time. I think that she is going to do a phenomenal job in this position. We reached back out to her, and she, came in, talked with us a little bit more about the operations there, and is very interested in the position. So we are asking that the board move to appoint her in this position at a grade 3, step 5.
Okay. Well, I too have known her for a long time, and I've never heard anything bad about her work ethic. The Mistecks are very humble people, and I think she will bring something to our community that we missed for a while because she hasn't been here. So, you want, Jessica, do you want to say something? You want the board?
Good evening, Honorable Board. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Redford again. I would love to return to your team. This township is known for its excellent public service, and I would like to be part of that. So I would ask for your consideration for this role. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Clerk Christie.
I move for approval to appoint Jessica Misdak as the Redford Township Senior Citizen and Veterans Coordinator in the Leisure Services Department at grade 3, step 5.
Support.
Supported by Trustee Kennedy. So the motion is approval to appoint Jessica Misdak as the Redford Township Senior Citizen and Veteran Coordinator in the Leisure Service Department at grade 3, step 5. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Christie, yes. Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
Ms. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. McCray.
Yes, motion carries. Welcome aboard, Jessica.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to say that I think I'm the only one left from when Jessica was here before, and for much of the 1990s, our storm siren was broken, and she came on board, and within a month, she got it fixed. So I remember her as somebody who gets things done.
Announcements from the board. All I can say is that summertime is here. Kids are starting to go back to school a little bit, shopping. Just be careful out there. Enjoy the rest of your summer and be safe. And this meeting is adjourned.
Chief, if you know what?
Yes.